Hi, welcome to Dreamsical Designs by Danielle. In this video, I'll be sharing my creative journey as I make the dress I'm wearing right now. The design features a flare skirt, turtleneck, and balloon sleeves. Along the way, I'll be sharing my design process and essential sewing tips to help you bring your own creations to life. Let's get started. The beauty of basic blocks is that you never have to start the pattern making process from scratch. Once you've created and perfected the fit, they become a solid foundation, allowing you to design anything you can dream of with ease and confidence. If you don't yet have basic blocks, I've got you covered. Watch my other videos on how to draft those. With that in mind, follow along as I show you just how easy these design transformations can be. My dress bodice uses my basic bodice blocks as is. The only change is that I'm ending it at my waistline so that it can attach to my skirt. Fun fact: turtleneck garments were originally designed to protect the necks of knights wearing chainmail. Now they're everyday wear, mostly for warmth on cooler days. The pattern is simple, just a rectangle. The width should match your neck circumference, and the height should be twice your desired turtleneck height since it's folded. A standard height is 3 inches, but since I wanted mine a bit taller, I made mine 4 inches. A balloon sleeve features a sleek, fitted silhouette at the armhole that dramatically blooms into a voluminous puff at the cuff, creating a striking contrast between structure and softness. I felt this type of sleeve pairs well with my turtleneck, fitted dress bodice, and flared skirt. And it's easy to create. I start by shortening my sleeve length to end 3 inches above my wrist line. I cut the bottom portion off, which will form my sleeve cuff when the wrist line is cut on the fold. Balloon sleeves are created using the slash and spread method. I divide my sleeve into 4 equal segments based on the bicep line. Next, I cut along the vertical lines starting from the bottom of my sleeve and stopping just before I reach the sleeve cap curve. This was the slash part. Now I am ready to start spreading my cut pieces. The more you spread the pieces, the puffier the sleeve will be. I decided to spread my pieces by about 2 times the original width. Quick tip: use a tape measure to check that the front and back pieces are evenly spaced. This keeps everything symmetrical. Once happy with the spread, I use tape to hold the pieces in place. To finish up my sleeve, I redraw the bottom sleeve curve as well as the sleeve cap. I love flared skirts. Effortlessly graceful, universally flattering, and an absolute joy to twirl in. The flared skirt is created using the slash and spread method. Starting with my basic skirt block, I divide it into 3 equal segments based on the waistline. Next, I cut along the vertical lines, starting from the bottom of the skirt and stopping just before I reach the waistline. This was the slash part. Now I am ready to start spreading my cut pieces. The more you spread the pieces, the more flare the skirt will be. I decided to spread my pieces by about 3.5 inches apart. Once happy with the spread, I used tape to hold the pieces in place. To finish up my skirt, I redraw the side curve, extending it straight down from the waist through the hip to the new skirt hem. Then, I reshape the hem with my flexible ruler, ensuring it intersects the side seam at a 90-degree angle. And that's it for my design process. Here are my 6 final pattern pieces. Two essential steps I never skip before starting my sewing process for stretchy fabrics are to apply interfacing strips within the seam allowance on the back shoulder seams of my bodice fabric, and to stage stitch the neckline and armhole curves to prevent stretching. Also, because turtlenecks require stability, I fully interface the rectangle within the seam allowance to give it more structure and minimize stretching over time. First up is to attach the front and back bodice of the dress at the shoulder and side seams. A helpful tip when sewing stretchy fabrics is to use a walking foot or a knit foot. In my case, my fabric kept getting caught in the walking foot, so I opted for my knit foot. I sew the side seam together, then trim the excess seam allowance down using pinking shears. Then I fold the piece into its turtleneck shape. To prep the turtleneck for attachment, I placed a single row of basting stitches at a tension of 6 to auto-gather the fabric. This helps match the turtleneck's straight edge to the dress's curved neckline. Next, I evenly distribute the gathers around the neckline and secure with pins. When sewing, I carefully guide the fabric under the machine foot to maintain smooth, flat seams. Finally, I clip the turtleneck's inner curve to ensure it can freely move when worn. I place the side seams of my sleeve and side seams of the sleeve cuffs right sides together and sew down the edge. Once sewn, I fold the sleeve cuff piece into its cuff shape. Next, I prep the sleeve bottom for attachment to the sleeve cuff by adding 2 basting stitches within the seam allowance. On my second row of basting stitch, I increase the tension of my sewing machine to a 6 to auto-gather the fabric. I place my sleeve bottom and sleeve cuff right sides together, lining up the side seam. Carefully distributing the gathers evenly around the cuff takes patience, especially with my small wrists, where the limited working space makes the process more challenging. Pro tip: play your favorite music and take your time with this step. The final challenge for me came when machine sewing the pieces together. The small circumference makes it tricky to maintain control. I have to carefully manage both the gathers and fabric position while stitching. But the effort pays off beautifully in the perfect balloon shape of my finished sleeve. Now to attach my balloon sleeves to my dress bodice. Here's my process for attaching sleeves. To prep the sleeve armholes for sewing, I place 2 rows of basting stitches in between the armhole notches and within the seam allowance. On my second row of basting stitch, I increase the tension of my sewing machine to a 6 to auto-gather the fabric. I place the sleeve armhole and bodice armhole right sides together, lining up my side and shoulder seams. Then, I finesse the gathered fabric to evenly distribute it, smoothing out any puckers for a clean finish. Before using the sewing machine, I prefer to hand sew a basting stitch to keep everything in place. This extra step makes machine sewing faster and easier as it prevents the fabric from shifting. A quick note about skirt side seams. They are a perfect place to insert large pockets. I really wanted to add them to my dress, but alas, my fabric is too lightweight and stretchy to support them properly. I start by placing my 2 skirt pieces right sides together, clipping them in place, and sewing from the waist to the hem. For the hem, I simply fold up the raw edge once at the seam allowance and top stitch around the perimeter. This creates a clean finish while taking advantage of my knit fabric's non-fraying properties. The final step is to place my skirt and bodice pieces right sides together, clipping them in place and sewing around the circumference. And that's it. My dress is done. Let's take a moment to appreciate how beautiful and cozy this dress turned out. The gold thread woven through this purple plaid fabric adds an elegant, dressy finish. It's incredibly versatile. Layer it with a blazer and wear this to work, or wear it solo for a date night or an outing with your girlfriends. For colder months, opt for a heavyweight knit that provides warmth, while a lightweight version, like mine, keeps you perfectly comfortable on those cooler spring and summer nights. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you make your own dress, please tag me. I'd love to see how it turned out. Happy sewing!